Kingsley Hall is one of those quiet, legendary places where social change actually took root. It became a hub for activists pushing for better social housing, a meeting point for local organisers during moments like the Bristol bus boycott, and earlier, a safe space for suffragettes and the independent Labour Party working to reshape political rights in Britain. The building's history isn't just bricks and mortar. It's a record of people challenging the rules of their time and carving out space for a fairer society. This documentary was created by young people at 1625 independent people who love history and are eager to learn more. Focusing on social housing in Bristol through time, the actions that have created it, the state it is in now, and how we can learn from the past to improve our future. Kingsley Hall, a place of social change and activism. In 1911, the Independent Labour Party came to this building, renaming it to Kingsley Hall, intending it to be a centre of working class movements. Over its time in the building, issues including what we now call social housing were major topics of discussion and activism. The Bristol Justices are of opinion that some of the provisions of the Rent Acts inflict hardship upon tenants, and they sympathise with the members. The discussions from 100 years ago led us to want to know what the current discussions on social housing would be like today.
If you look at the history, one of the reasons why, for instance, you had social housing in the first place was because of a fear of revolution within the country. And it's like this is one of the ways of placating people. 40 years ago, you wouldn't have used the word social housing. You would have talked about council housing. And social housing is a catch-all phrase for all affordable housing provided by local authorities, housing associations, co-ops, land trusts and other organisations, with the particular objective of making it affordable to people on the lowest incomes. Actually, if you go back 80 years, you would call it working class housing.
We discovered that there was very little social housing until after the First World War.
Social housing, I know, is at the limit at the moment, and then you've got private sectors getting oversubscribed. Everything's becoming pushed to the limit, so therefore everything's tight.
The first place I had was a 2-bed maisonette. Luckily it was on the ground floor, because I don't do heights. That was small, it was fairly good. Where I am now, I have been for over 20 years, and I live in a very small cul-de-sac, so we all know who each other is, even if we don't speak to each other.
I think attitudes to social housing, it's really political. It takes money to build social housing. We have much more demand for very little amount of resource. 22,000 people on the waiting list in Bristol, 1,400 properties allocated every year. It used to be available for anyone who wanted it. I think the reason there's not enough in terms of the policies to get people the social housing is there isn't the social housing to be got. So it's often a case of needing to prioritise the limited resource you've got for those who are most in need. We have a really extraordinary team at MAPS. It's a mixture of 1625 support workers and Bristol City Council housing advisors and social workers, which primarily supports care leavers and people who experience housing need and homelessness. And it encompasses education, training, employment, mental health and wellbeing support, homeless prevention. It functions to support young people in the South West.
Council housing and social housing was born out of concern about the housing condition of working class people, the vast majority of whom lived in slum housing.
On December 3rd, 1920, a letter published in the Western Daily Press called for help. Dear Sir, I have cases of extreme urgency. Today, a man with his wife and child came in, homeless and destitute. Any parcels of clothing or other form of help can be addressed to Kingsley Hall, Old Market, Bristol. The cases of support and empowerment for people's housing issues from the 1920s led us to research how this is being conducted today through activists and campaigning groups.
Acorn is a community union made up of people of Bristol. We basically campaign on things that affect low to moderate income households, communities which might be struggling with housing issues or issues to do with youth services. Pretty much anything that affects the general community. If our members come at us and we need some help, we're there.
Our organisation is about empowering ordinary people to change the communities that we live in for the better.
I grew up in Somalia until I was like 15, and then I got here. I moved into Barton House 2012. What we did is organize everyone and start writing emails, protesting, create steering groups and all those things. We will make sure that our voices are heard.
Activism's always been necessary in this sector, and if you look at the history, it's because people were active, were campaigning. So social housing was born out of the campaigns to deal with the slums. Nothing gets given to you. You have to fight for everything.
I lived in Ashmead House, just across the road from Barton House, and then we got rehoused to Hillfield. It was quite a radicalising experience to realise that I've never really been in a stable situation, and it wasn't just me alone. I saw my friends also bouncing around housing, and you understand that you're like part of a system, and then that makes you more inclined to want to change it.
Housing Matters has been delivering housing advice, support and advocacy in and around Bristol for 60 years. We work in partnership with loads of great organisations in Bristol. So we work really closely with people like Caring in Bristol, with 1625. That means that we can help people not just with their housing issue, but sometimes when they're facing like money or debt issues as well, or benefits issues, issues with their disabilities and things like that. So we've got really great relationships with all those organisations. We had a charity shop and they gave away white goods and some money for people who were just trying to resettle in new homes. And I think the heart of what we've been doing is supporting people who are threatened with homelessness or are currently homeless, people who are living in housing crisis, to make sure they can be living the best life possible.
I grew up in council housing and I was a council tenant. Social housing is so critically important in giving people the foundation for everything else in their life. It's very difficult to get a job if you haven't got somewhere to live. It's very difficult to have a family. You don't want to be in a position where you're always worried, will I be evicted? Will I still have this property next week? So social housing gives people, or should give people, affordable, good quality homes where they know they're secure for as long as they need it. If you don't sort out housing, you can't sort out anything else that's important to people and important to communities.
As long as we're still breathing in mould spores from our mouldy homes, we'll need Acorn and we'll need people to stand up.
Look to your tenants rather than just putting private profiteers over your public. We're sick of it, and you're hurting us.
There was a recent central government policy change saying that if you are a care leaver or if you are fleeing domestic violence, you are able to join social housing waiting lists outside of your local area. It is cause for celebration, but it's also nowhere near far enough, because there's still not enough of the properties that people are going for.
I want people to recognise housing issues create a lot of other issues. Education issues, mental health issues, breathing problems, all those things, it comes under housing.
What you've got in Bristol is a lot of actually really, really interesting ideas and really interesting schemes that people are bringing forward. I really like the work that We Can Make is doing in Knoll West around actually building the houses itself. If we can just support those sorts of projects to provide more, and also to see more of this high quality council housing coming through, then I think that can make a really huge difference.
Examples of change which are occurring across the city include investment in the Kingsley Hall project. There will be 9 new flats in this historic building where people fought for social housing.
In the future, I want housing to be treated as like a fundamental human right, not as a space for people to gain. Homes are for people, not profit, and I really truly believe that, and it's time like the world saw that.